This is Veriscope News. Verified data, clear context, no noise. This channel reports official economic data using direct source verification and structured explanation. Each report focuses on one data release. Numbers are presented exactly as published by the issuing agency. Context is provided to explain how the data is constructed and how it connects to the broader economy. All information in this report comes from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index news release for February 2026, published at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on March 11, 2026. The Consumer Price Index is one of the most widely used measurements of price change in the United States economy. The index tracks the average change over time in the prices paid by urban consumers for a broad set of goods and services. These goods and services represent a standardized market basket used to measure purchasing cost changes across the economy. The index includes spending categories such as housing, transportation, food, medical care, energy, recreation, education and communication, and apparel. Each category reflects typical spending patterns recorded in national consumer surveys. The Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers is commonly abbreviated as CPI-U. The CPI-U represents price changes experienced by households living in urban areas. Urban consumers represent a large majority of the population measured within the index system. For this reason, CPI-U is frequently used as a benchmark for national price movement. Government agencies, research institutions, and financial organizations use CPI data to track long-term price trends. Some federal programs also use CPI data for cost of living adjustments. The CPI report is released on a regular monthly schedule by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Each release contains updated index levels and rate of change calculations for the most recent month. The February 2026 CPI report provides updated information on price changes observed during that month. The February 2026 CPI report provides several key measurements. The first measurement is the 12-month change in the Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the CPI-U increased 2.4% over the 12 months ending in February 2026. The previous CPI report measured the 12-month change for January 2026 at 2.4%. The February report therefore shows no change in the annual CPI rate. The arithmetic comparison is straightforward. The February value is 2.4%. The January value is 2.4%. The difference between the two values equals 0 percentage points. The index level also increased during the month. The CPI-U index level for February 2026 reached 326.785. The previous index level for January 2026 was 324.603. The difference between these two index values represents the monthly increase in the index level. The report also measures the monthly price change. The CPI-U rose 0.5% in February on a non-seasonally adjusted basis. This measurement reflects the change in the index level from January to February without seasonal adjustments applied. Seasonal adjustment is a statistical method used to remove recurring patterns that occur at the same time each year. Examples include energy usage changes during winter months or travel patterns during holiday periods. The Bureau of Labor Statistics publishes both a seasonally adjusted and non-seasonally adjusted data depending on the category being reported. The February CPI report also provides information about core CPI. Core CPI refers to the Consumer Price Index excluding the categories of food and energy. Food and energy prices can experience larger short-term changes due to weather conditions, supply shifts, or global commodity markets. Removing these categories allows economists to measure underlying price movement across other sectors. According to the February report, the All Items Index excluding food and energy increased 2.5% over the 12-month period ending in February 2026. The CPI report also states that the Food Index increased during the month. The Energy Index increased during the month. The All Items Index excluding food and energy also increased on a seasonally adjusted basis during February. These movements contribute to the overall index calculation. The Consumer Price Index is constructed using a standardized process that tracks price changes across a defined market basket. The market basket represents a large collection of consumer goods and services purchased by households. Examples include grocery items, rent payments, gasoline transportation, transportation services, clothing, and medical care. Each item in the market basket receives a statistical weight. The weight reflects how frequently that category appears in consumer spending patterns. Housing expenses typically receive one of the largest weights in the CPI system. Transportation costs, including fuel and vehicle expenses, also represent a large portion of the index. Food purchases form another major category. Medical care, recreation, apparel, and education also contribute to the index. The Bureau of Labor Statistics collects price information from a large network of retail locations and service providers across the United States. Thousands of prices are recorded each month. These price observations are used to calculate average price changes for each category. Those category changes are then combined according to their statistical weights. The final result produces the CPI index. The index level reflects the relative price level compared to a historical reference period. Changes in the index level are used to calculate percentage increases or decreases over time. Two common calculations are the monthly change and the 12-month change. The monthly change compares the current index level with the previous month. The 12-month change compares the current index level with the same month in the previous year. These two measurements help identify both short-term and longer-term price trends. In the February 2026 CPI report, the 12-month CPI-U remained at 2.4%. The monthly increase measured 0.5%. These values are calculated using the index levels reported in the release. The February index level was 326.785. The previous index level was 324.603. The increase between these two values contributes to the reported monthly increase. The CPI system also publishes category indices for individual sectors of the economy. These categories include food, energy, housing, transportation, medical care, recreation, education and communication, and apparel. Each category contributes to the final CPI calculation through its assigned weight. When individual categories increase or decrease in price, they influence the combined index. The CPI index provides a measurement of price movement across the consumer economy. Changes in CPI influence several areas of economic activity. These effects occur through purchasing behavior, wage adjustments, and business cost structures. The following sections explain how CPI data connects to different parts of the economy. Households. Households experience CPI changes through the prices paid for everyday goods and services. Examples include grocery purchases, rent payments, transportation costs, and medical services. When the CPI increases, the average price level across the market basket rises. Households therefore require more money to purchase the same combination of goods and services. When CPI increases at a slower rate, the pace of price change across the market basket is reduced. The February 2026 CPI report shows a 12-month increase of 2.4%. This figure represents the average price change across the full market basket over the past year. The monthly increase of 0.5% reflects the change observed between January and February. Households may experience these changes differently depending on their individual spending patterns. For example, households with higher transportation spending may notice energy price changes more quickly. Households with higher housing costs may observe housing price changes more directly. The CPI aggregates these experiences into a single national measurement. Prices. The CPI index is designed to measure price changes across many categories simultaneously. The February report indicates that food prices increased during the month. The energy index increased during the month. The all items index, excluding food and energy, increased on a seasonally adjusted basis during February. These movements contribute to the overall index calculation. Jobs and labor. CPI data is often referenced in discussions about wage adjustments and labor contracts. Some wage agreements include cost of living adjustments linked to CPI measurements. These adjustments attempt to maintain purchasing power for workers. When CPI increases over time, wages may be adjusted to account for price changes. Labor market participants also monitor CPI trends when evaluating income growth and purchasing capacity. The February CPI report provides updated measurements used in these evaluations. Savings and investment. Price changes measured by CPI can also influence savings behavior and investment planning. When prices change over time, the purchasing power of savings may also change. Financial institutions and economic researchers use CPI data when evaluating long-term financial trends. Inflation-indexed securities, for example, use CPI measurements to adjust principal values. These securities are designed to maintain purchasing power relative to CPI changes. The February CPI report provides the latest official measurement used for these calculations. Businesses. Businesses also monitor CPI data when evaluating input costs and pricing structures. Companies that purchase raw materials or transportation services may experience price changes linked to CPI categories. Retail businesses observe consumer price movement when adjusting product prices. Service providers observe CPI changes in categories such as medical care, transportation, and recreation. Businesses use CPI information to track price conditions across the consumer economy. The report therefore functions as a broad reference point for price monitoring across many industries. Economic analysts often monitor additional data releases following a CPI report. Several related indicators provide further information about price movement across the economy.
These indicators include Producer Price Index reports published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Personal Consumption Expenditures price data published by the Bureau of Economic Analysis, employment reports that measure wage growth and labor market conditions, retail sales reports that measure consumer spending activity, energy market data released by the U.S. Energy Information Administration. These indicators help provide additional information about price movement across different stages of the economy. The CPI report measures consumer prices. Other reports measure production costs, spending activity, and labor market conditions. Together, these data releases provide a broader picture of economic price dynamics. The February CPI release provides updated information about price changes across the U.S. consumer economy. The key figure in the report is the 2.4% increase in CPI over the 12 months ending in February 2026. This figure matches the value reported in the January CPI release. The difference between the two values equals 0.0 percentage points. The CPI index level increased from 324.603 in January to 326.785 in February. The CPI also recorded a 0.5% monthly increase on a non-seasonally adjusted basis. Food prices increased during the month. Energy prices increased during the month. The core CPI index, excluding food and energy, increased 2.5% over the 12-month period ending in February. These figures describe the measured change in prices across the CPI market basket. The CPI report provides a standardized measurement used by government agencies, research institutions, and financial organizations. The CPI index uses several technical methods to ensure consistent measurement across time. One method involves updating the market basket weights periodically. Consumer spending patterns change over time. Updating the weights ensures the index continues to represent current purchasing behavior. Another method involves geographic sampling. Prices are collected from multiple metropolitan areas across the country. These regions represent different economic conditions and consumer markets. The CPI system also uses standardized item descriptions to ensure that identical products are compared across time. If a product changes significantly in quality or design, statistical adjustments may be applied to maintain comparability. These methods allow the CPI index to measure price change rather than product substitution or quality differences. The CPI system, therefore, focuses on price movement for consistent goods and services. This approach helps maintain long-term continuity in the index. This report reviewed the Consumer Price Index news release for February 2026 published by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The CPI-U increased 2.4% over the 12 months ending in February 2026. The monthly index rose 0.5%. The CPI index level reached 326.785. The previous annual CPI value remained unchanged from January. No revision to the previous figure was reported. Veriscope News will continue monitoring official economic data releases and reporting verified measurements with structured context. Verified data, clear context.